following 4 Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Yo, 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 what's up, y'all? This is K Double.
It's your boy, my people. The day after Halloween Cheap Pop podcast special.
Yep. Shoot. Well, we're recording after Halloween. This will be the Sunday after Halloween when y'all are listening to this, so enjoy. All right. So, you know what, man? I decided before I dive into the DC shows for this week, let's open up with the information that you jumped out of your seat for. And that was that the one, the only, Mr. John Barenthal will be returning to the MCU on big screen, small screen, wherever, as the Punisher. Oh. Yes.
Obviously, straight away, my nerd boner went through the goddamn ceiling. I painted the wall white. I went crazy. Because if you guys don't remember, just not too long ago, we literally sat down and called it nothing but a pipe dream to see the stars that starred in the Netflix Marvel cast of the Defenders, Luke Cage, Punisher, Iron Fist, that little main core group. We called that nothing but a pipe dream to see them going forward as the same character. And we just got exactly that. John Bernthal, the man who was in The Walking Dead before this point, made a name for himself doing such, will be returning as a Punisher. I am through the roof.
No,
this is the one single thing I could ask for. This is it. I'll take it and I will goddamn run with it.
Hello? No, I know.
I'm in.
No, that wasn't you. I thought somebody was knocking on my door. Now, I agree completely. Now, I know most likely they will not be getting Mike Coulter back. He is happy with his Evil, his show Evil on NBC. So we most likely will not be seeing Mike Coulter again as Luke Cage, but John Barenthal is a good is a great consolidation prize. And then I'll take what's her name is Jessica Jones, and I don't know. You could recast Iron Fist, and I wouldn't be mad. Dude did a pretty decent job. Yeah. I'm not gonna knock him, but
I think the entirety of the Iron Fist show, along with the casting, was okay. It wasn't horrendous. It wasn't the best. It was okay. It was presentable.
I liked the girl, the one that ended up becoming an Iron Fist at the end. I liked her. She was pretty cool. Like, she knew how to fight, so on and so forth. I think they need to do a buddy cop TV show with her and the detective from Luke Cage. The girl that ended up with the mechanical arms.
Yeah, the one who's a constant in all the shows.
Yeah. Give me no. That was Rosario Dawson. That was the nurse. She was the one that was on all the shows. Right. I'm talking about the black cop though. She was on Luke Cage, and then she did turn up on Iron Fist. I don't know if she turned up on Daredevil or not. I think she may have for an episode or two. But her, I think a buddy cop episode, a buddy cop show with her and the Asian chick from Iron Fist. Give me that. Call it Heroes for Hire. I don't care.
Disney Plus. Take that shit.
Yeah, you know, man. Like, can't wait for it, man. Can't wait for it. Yeah, hey.
If I get to see John Bernthal show up in mainline MCU like canon, it's over. That's it.
Bro, I'm gonna start crying right there in the theater. I'm just gonna.
What?
So okay, once again,
this is the right timeline.
Before I get into this review, just to talk about real quick. So first and foremost, I saw an article this week that said that said Demolition Man is the most underrated movie of the 1990s, and like they don't understand why anybody's sleeping on it. And I'm sort of in agreement. Like, if you I would say to anybody who has not seen Demolition Man, go pick it up. It's Sylvester Stallone and Wesley Snipes at their best. I, who is it? Not Sarah Jessica Parker. What? Sandra Bullock's in it. Oh my God. Dennis Leary's in it. Like, it's a great movie. Like, it's an old school movie. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, by today's standards of special effects, etc., it's gonna look kind of campy. But it was a really good movie. Really funny. Really, really just major enjoy the story. So, but that was
like
was
you
one.
said, yeah. But it's a little bit like, it's a little bit outdated by today's standards, but no doubt, like it's still a classic in my opinion.
Oh yeah,
take it for 100%. What it is, and it's pretty enjoyable.
It's kind of like Judge Dredd, yeah, definitely, exactly. Like yeah. And then I forgot what the other thing I was going to bring up was. So let's see.
Fuck.
Oh, and I also watched Black Panther and The Karate Kid. Now, mind you, this is probably like the 15th time I've seen Black Panther, and I like the movie. I do. I like everything about the movie. Thought it was well written. Thought it was well done. Enjoyed just about every time I see it. The movie that I watched that struck my fancy, ironically, was the most recent version of The Karate Kid.
I was going to say the Jaden Smith version?
Yes. I saw a lot of people on the internet, and I've seen a lot of people on the internet and Facebook, etc., trashing this movie over and over again. And I don't understand. Like, they're like, oh, it wasn't nearly as good as the original. And I'm like, wait a minute. Don't get me wrong. Pat Morita, Ralph Macchio, the original Karate Kid was a good movie. But it had its flaws. Like, it wasn't no Princess Bride by any stretch of the imagination. Okay? It was not.
That is the gold standard of movies here on the Cheap Pop Podcast.
Yes. Okay, so like, but I didn't think that this remake, after rewatching it, like, it just happened to be irony that I saw these people bashing it on the internet like 2 days after I just got done rewatching it. Like, my daughter decided she wanted to watch it. It kept, and just quick thoughts on it, it kept all the elements of the original Karate Kid with several Easter egg moments that were direct nods to the original Karate Kid. You know what I'm saying? And moments in the actual thing. But it separated itself. A new setting, new struggle, new people, kind of a different take on the teacher and how he teaches them. And then also the style of martial arts that he's teaching them is a completely different one. Pat Morita taught Ralph Macchio karate. Danielson. You know, Jackie Chan, she teaches Jaden Smith kung fu. There's a difference between the two. So they created a lot of subtle differences, you know, amongst the movie that made it its own separate movie, so to speak. And so, like, that's where I really don't understand how people bash it and try to compare it to the original. The original is a great movie in its own. The trilogy is awesome. But it's not. This movie was not a bad movie. If you take The Karate Kid with Jaden Smith and stand it on its own, it's a damn good movie. Period.
I definitely think it is one of those cases of the name being a liability to it. In the way that, because of its name, it is forever going to be set aside one of the most classic movies known to man. I think, you know, if it wasn't called The Karate Kid,
yeah,
and it had some other name, it would not be bashed even nearly as much. Of course, like, it is not a perfect movie. Like, no doubt, it has its flaws. It is not a perfectly written movie at all. But this came out, especially when I was a kid. Like, I saw it when I was a kid, and I saw it a little while ago, too, and it was not a movie that was utterly horrendous. It isn't unwatchable.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Jackie Chan. How can you not like Jackie Chan? Come on. But, no, yeah, I agree completely. I don't think it deserves to be mired as one of the worst movies ever like it usually is. Of course, there's a lot of flaws with it, but you said it, the side next to one of the most classic movies of all time. You know, do you really expect it to hold up?
No.
There's a lot of things like that people need to take objectively in your face like that. And not only that, but this movie was set for a completely different audience. This movie was obviously set for a lot younger of a crowd.
Yeah.
So it's going to be treated as such, and I don't think that's something people understand.
Silly people. Watch the movie, take it in, understand. Great movie. All right. So just to skip through a quick review of the DC shows for this week. Black Lightning furthered the occupation of Freeland, had a couple of good moments. They're really starting to beat down on the chief of police, which is turning him and a lot of the police force against the ASA. I'm thinking we're going to see an uprising starting somewhere around there. But Black Lightning has a sick new suit that the ASA gave him now that's encompassed in this little watch, and he just puts it on and thinks. And the shit puts his fucking suit on, and the suit itself helps him generate like an extra 10,000 volts of energy. And so it's just like, yeah, they done made him sick. Man. But between that and then the daughter is still trying to do her thing. They go and save some one of these kids that isn't a meta, gets accused of being a meta, and they basically have to go save him before the ASA tortures him to find out whether or not he's a fucking meta or not. And yeah, so it's something where Black Lightning is getting interesting. Tobias Well thinks that he's gonna get back out on the block. It don't matter what's done to him. He's got a bunch of boils and shit all over his skin from the torture. As old dude proves to be one of the worst villains that was Monday. Flash on Tuesday was pretty damn good. Like I said, we're furthering the storyline with Bloodborne. I think Bloodborne is his name. The villain. The name of this episode was There Will Be Blood. Basically, Flash tries to help him get this virus or get this antidote to heal himself. Cisco actually, there's a lot of deep stuff that's going on with Cisco and Barry, because remember at the last part of the last episode, Barry tells the Team Arrow or Team Flash that he has to die in order for the crisis to end. So like there's Cisco like trying to tell him like, I'm trying to save you, and Barry's like, don't, because you can't, like, don't save me, because if you save me, like, then everybody else dies, and you and everybody else dies, and like they're like, we don't want to have to live without you, blah blah blah. And so yeah, it was a blah 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 moment. But yeah, so it's definitely, like I said, I personally I have no spoilers. This is just my personal opinion. I personally don't think Barry's gonna die. Like I said, the Monitor said in the first episode, or in the second episode, the Flash must die. He didn't say it had to be Barry Allen. He said the Flash. So there's going to be 62 different Flashes. One of them can die. And Barry
Always is.
Yep. Jay Garrick.
Small tidbit.
Yeah.
Small tidbit. My little brother just started the Flash. So I'm just like, he started, and I'm like, starting the journey.
Yeah.
The pilgrimage.
Oh, that first season, Zoom, baby, Zoom. Like, that's my villain. Oh, no. First season was Zoom. Second season was Zoom. First season was Reverse Flash, right?
I was going to say, yeah, that's Eobard Thawne.
Yeah, that's Eobard Thawne, yeah. The oh my God, the first time I ever saw that name, I was like, I actually saw that name spelled out. I was like, do we go fucking bonkers in the future? Is that what happens?
Is that what this is?
People just hit enter on a randomizer, and it just throws a bunch of letters together, and people figure out how to
Shit, I'll
pronounce
take
it. Ebot. Ebot Thawne, good lord! But yeah, who turns out to be one of the best villains and consistent villains throughout the full 6 seasons of Flash. So he was even one of the big baddies last season.
Yeah.
But this
I
season,
think, in my opinion, Gil Barthon is a real underrated villain.
yeah,
Because
he is.
I think there are very few villains who fit into like the role of being this nemesis, this like true nemesis of their counterpart. And nothing says that more than going back in time and causing what turned you into a hero in the first place.
Yep.
Like that to me is one of the rawest forms of fuck you.
Yep. And you know, like, well, for those who listen, you probably know this. Like, it did suck the fact that basically Barry had to go back and let his mom die in order to reset the timeline. Because when he saved her and came back, everything was all messed up.
Yeah, so he had to let it happen. He didn't have a choice.
All right, so that was Flash. Like I said, a lot of great lessons learned. The Monitor, or we find out that Harrison Wells, the new Harrison Wells that they have now, I forget which Earth he said he's from, is now looking for the Monitor. Like he's trying to figure out where the Monitor is hiding, basically. So that leads us over to Arrow, where the Monitor is continuing to wreak havoc in Arrow's life, and he's kind of skipping Arrow through. Like I said, like my homeboy said, I think he's correct that each episode is going to represent a season of Arrow. Like, you know, like Welcome to Hong Kong, this was Leap of Faith. So he went and found Thea, and actually ended up going to look for this sword that the Monitor told him he had to find. And then they kind of get the Monitor's diary and figure out that, like, the Monitor is one of the bad guys, so to speak. John Diggle and his wife go save this random, like, mother and child and get them put back into hiding with Argus. And, yeah. So, like, it's just a bunch of random stuff happened, but the best and key scene to it all is at the telltale end, after everybody's completed everything they're supposed to do, and they've been jumping back and forth between the future and the past, and the future and the past. All of a sudden, everybody gets caught up in this white light, right? They come back. Dinah and Diggle walk up, and they're like, "Oliver, where'd you come from?" And he's like, huh? And then up walks Wild Dog, and then I think it was Mr. Terrific as well stepped up. And like they all look at him, and then they spin around the room, kind of like panographic style wise. And there's there's Oliver and Felicity's daughter, all grown up. William, all grown up, and John Diggle's son, all grown up from the future. They've now been transported back to 2019.
Fuck.
It was like, oh shit, they brought them back. Because at first I thought it was. Remember, I described to you guys in the previous episode that it was the thing that took Earth 2, that destroyed Earth 2, like the antimatter, right? But it was just like the antimatter, but white. So I was like, oh no, another universe dead. No, that's not another. Wait a minute, they're all in the past. Oh, and the kids are there too. Oh shit! So it makes me really want to watch next week's episode to see what's going on. Oh man, Supergirl was pretty good. Not a lot of important things happened, I should say, other than James Olsen decided he was leaving Metropolis and going into this small town to go expose the corruption at the local prison that's taken over the town he used to live in and the town he grew up in. So they captured John Jones' brother. So I wonder who the Monitor is going to release next. That one's getting interesting. And then the last one was Batwoman. Once again, continuing to further the story very well between Kate Kane and Red Alice, making her effectively, Kate's first major villain that she's going to face. The father is finally starting to discover and believe and realize that that Beth is Red Alice. Well, was or is. Yeah, Red Alice was Beth. Is a better way to say it. Because Beth's not alive anymore. Beth's dead. She gone. You can kiss her bye-bye. Kate Kane got a girlfriend and broke up with her all in one episode. I guess that's just gonna be the way she does, because she can't be Batwoman and not tell people. And I don't know. Yeah, get rid of the red lighting. We'll talk more about that later. Sorry, I just happened to turn around the crown jewel and I'm just like, yeah, get rid of the red lighting. Just give me a normally colored match.
Oh yeah, that was a real nice fucking touch.
Yeah.
Being blinded mid-match, right?
But yeah, so we'll update you more on those. I believe I know Black Lightning, they said, isn't back until like the 11th. So I don't think there's going to be a Black Lightning. I think all the shows this week are on rerun, so we may not have new episodes at all this week, but I'll let you know when we record next week. So that was that. So we do have one big announcement that was literally just released today, not Sunday today Friday when we're recording, 2 days ago by the time you're listening to this, maybe 3 or more. But Marvel and Sony have announced what, Alpha?
Which one are we talking about?
What Sony and Marvel have announced? Spider-Verse, man.
What do you mean? Oh, fuck me. Sorry, I didn't know. Sorry, I completely blanked. Spider-Verse, an already beloved film. Something that I'm already seeing a lot of people take on is easily their favorite Spider-Man, superhero, anything movie, is getting a sequel, which I am not even slightly surprised about. And
it made sense.
Can't even say I'm mad because I don't know about you, but that movie fucking slapped. I got to see Nick Cage as Spider-Man Noir. Like, you had me with that.
and the fact that they had that they had every spectrum of Spider-Man in the movie is what I loved. You had Miles Morales, you had Peter Parker. You had 2 Peter Parkers. You had what was it? You had Noir, and then you even had the Spider Girl, I would call her, the Asian.
You had Spider Gwen, and then you had the little Asian in a mech suit Spider-Man, which is the most blindsided choice of a comic relief character I've ever seen. But I was not even slightly unhappy with that choice.
Not at all, my friend. Not at all.
And again, not to my surprise, we saw Peter Porker, we saw Spider-Ham in there, which is very popular since the Into the Spider-Verse comics, all that. And I cannot express my happiness enough. I think this was one of the funnest movies in a long time that came out. Like, it came out of absolute fucking nowhere, but I don't know about you, but I loved it. A lot of people were fiending for Miles Morales to hit the big screen in some way, shape, or form. And this came in, and a lot of people were more than happy with it. In my opinion, this is one of the most aesthetically pleasing movies ever. This movie looks amazing. The shot where Miles jumps off the building and there's music in the background, I felt that shit. It's a movie that is amazing to watch. What about you? How do you feel about it?
About Spider-Verse, man, I completely underrated that film. When I first heard about it, I was like, yeah, it's another Spider-Man animated film. I'll check it out eventually. When I finally watched it, my God, man, nothing but chills watching it. Like, beautiful animation, amazing storyline, like well written, well animated, well put together. Kingpin was amazing. Like Kingpin looked like Kingpin. No offense to Vincent
Yeah, no.
D'Onofrio, who, by the way, is the best real life Kingpin almost ever. Um, but as far as drawing Kingpins, he was utterly amazing, utterly flipping amazing. And so, like, yeah, I loved everything about the movie and can't wait to see what bad guys they're going to pull out their ass in the sequel.
I'm hoping we'll see Ben Riley this time. Ben
Yeah.
Riley, in my opinion, he's best Spider-Man. That's the one with the blue jacket. He's one of the clones we saw.
Uh-huh.
He's had a real extensive run in the comics. Ben Riley, Scarlet Spider, either or between him or Kane. Easily some of the best written characters in comics, in my opinion. You
All
cannot
right.
go wrong with them. And I'm hoping we'll see those two specifically make a show up in this version. But going back on what you said, no, yeah, every time Kingpin came onto the screen, it was a fucking experience. And just like you, I was completely hit in the side of the head with how really good that movie was. Like,
It
you know,
was.
looking into it, it was, you know, all I saw was cartoon Spider-Man, so I really didn't expect too much out of it. And then it ended up being a well-written, real compelling form of media.
And that was the whole thing about it was I think Miles Morales' story was the best one to tell, and that's why I think if they do, because here's what's funny: does Sony own all Spider-Man or all Spider-Man products, or do they just own Peter Parker Spider-Man?
That's interesting.
Like, I would love to know that. Because would Marvel be able to do a Miles Morales Spider-Man once this little 3-movie deal is up with Sony?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and let go of Tom Holland and the Peter Parker Spider-Man?
Mm-hmm. We
'Cause
did
they're
get
already-
a reference to the Morales the Morales family within the one before Far From Home, Homecoming. We saw a reference to the Morales family. If you don't know, Donald Glover, the one, the only Childish Gambino, he played as Miles Morales' uncle, otherwise known as the Prowler.
Right.
And like it says it within the movie, I believe he looks at Donald Glover with the high-tech Spider-Man goggles or some shit like that, and it says AKA Prowler, which is a fine little nod.
Oh. All right. So there we go. We've already established that the Moraleses live in the Spider-Verse, in the MCU. So give us Miles Morales.
Yeah.
Come on, damn it.
But then we can get into the topic of who the hell do we cast as a live-action Miles Morales.
Yeah, that one gets, because there's not many actors that could play that role.
We
I
can
can't
take that
even
up
think of
another
one.
time, then.
Yeah, another time. All right, so moving on. Netflix, I was reading the other day, has said that they will, or the showrunners will be using what was called PC, politically correct characters, for the Netflix series for Avatar: The Last Airbender. Basically, what they mean is that the original script for Avatar: The Last Airbender, the 4 nations were written as actual. Were written based off of actual tribes and actual people. So, they're gonna have people Inuits. It was, I forgot what level of China, and then the feudal Japan. They're not gonna have people, of course, that are genuinely from feudal Japan because they would have to be hundreds of years old. But people that come from that lineage. You know what I'm saying? And stuff like that. They're going to try to be as authentic as possible with the characters for the movie and do the best that they can. So I think that is just a nod to the fact that they're using the original showrunners from the animated series. And these guys want to make it as good as possible because everybody knows, I'm sorry, the M. Night Shyamalan was just ridiculous. That version of Avatar: The Last Airbender was horrible storytelling. About the only cool thing about it was the actual martial arts that they were doing, the katas that they were doing. That was about the only cool part of it. Other than that, everything else
It,
was just.
I agree. Like it was a very visually pleasing movie. Don't get me wrong. Like for a AAA movie, of course, it looked good objectively. But I like to lump the live action M Night Shyamalan Last Airbender movie. I like to set it alongside the live action Dragon Ball Z movie that came out somewhere around the same time as that, because
Yeah.
it is there are two very stalwart examples of when somebody takes a very beloved anime and does everything you shouldn't do with it when translating it to live action.
Yep.
It's the same issue a lot of people had with the Ghost in the Shell movie not too long ago. You take something that is objectively Asian, Japanese, Oriental in that form, and they cast almost a strictly American cast. People are going to have an issue with it. It's not a matter of it's not a matter of quality. It's a matter of authenticity.
Right, and
I don't think that's what people get confused. But go on.
And no, well, the term I was just going to lend to you the term for that is called whitewashing. Like when they because it's primarily when they have an issue with it, it's because they're using a white character or white actor to play an authentically Asian, Indian. Of course, they're not gonna. Well, yeah, they've tried light-skinned black character even, but at the end of the day, it's an insult. Like to somebody who it was an insult. And here's what's funny: it was less of an insult to the Asian community, as much as I love Scarlett Johansson, that they used her for the Ghost in the Shell movie, as it was to anime fans. Like they were just like, "Are you trying to insult us? Really? No. Like no. Just because you color Scarlett Johansson's hair black does not make her Asian. No."
Yeah.
And so like so it was fun. That was always a funny dynamic to me. It was truly more insulting to the anime community than it was to the actual like Asian. Like I heard very little chirps out of Asian culture about the fact that it was a white actress playing that character. It was almost like they were like, that's pretty much what we expect. But like anime was just like, hold up, wait a minute, nah, put somebody else in it. Nah, stop.
Fix that. No, you're right. No, I heard a massive outcry from the anime community, fucking going bonkers about it.
Yes.
Because for when it comes from that form of media, they just want to see it translated in the most accurate form possible, and that is the most wrong way to do it. They're just looking for that character to be translated to live action, and that did not hit that mark, obviously. Yes. And it's not a matter of we don't want American or we don't want white people in this film. It's just a matter of it looking as close to it as you could with it being translated to live action.
And let's just be real. If there are no white characters in the story, there should be no white actors in the movie. I'm sorry. Like, it's just the reality of it. If none of the main characters or any of the characters described in the thing are described as white, then there should be no white actors in the movie, except maybe as extras. And that's not saying anything against white people. That's just saying for authenticity's sake.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I like to bring up the example of the current version of Starfire in the Teen Titans show.
Yes.
In the live action one, it's not that she's black. It's not that I don't want her to be white. It's that Starfire wasn't black or white. She's fucking orange. She's an alien.
She's an alien, yeah. And there's better ways that it could now and now see here's what's funny is I also understand the opposite side of the argument in regards to that character because of the fact that it's like, well, she's an alien, so she could be black, she could be white, she could be Mexican, she could be Asian, she could be whatever the fuck we want her to be. And I understand that thought process, but I also understand the thought process of, well, if she can be whatever you want her to be, then make her into what she's supposed to be. So But in reality, yeah, your Starfire is a great example of that. But it very rarely ever happens the other way around. Normally, if a character is white in a book, they're white in a movie, and everybody's all good with that. But sometimes they have a tendency to take characters that are ambiguously one particular race or another. Because, like, I'll be honest with you, if they ever did a true Dragon Ball Z live action movie, Piccolo should be a black man. Look at how he carries himself. Listen to the way he talks. Piccolo should be a black dude. Yes.
I felt a while ago, Piccolo is 100% in that league of anime characters that is, in the quotations of not officially black, but goddamn well they're black
Yeah,
sort of
exactly.
group.
100%. And so at the end of the day, that's ultimately what I say is just stick to the truest. As long as you stick to the truest essence of the character, you will always get a positive reaction regardless of how you cast the character. But you got to stay true to the essence. To me, it starts with the writing. Like, it starts with the writing for the movie. The M. Night Shyamalan movie failed starting with the writing. They tried to add too many things from different seasons into the same, thing. It should have been movie 1, season 1. Movie 1 should have just been the highlights of season 1. All the way up through what they gave us, which was the finale. What they gave us as the finale of the movie was the finale of season 1. But it should have just been nothing but what happened in season 1. And I thought they tried to add in too many different elements of other seasons. And then 2 should have been...
That's a good point.
2 should have been what? I believe book 1 was the Book of Air, book 2 was the Book of Water, and then book 3 was the Book of Fire. Oh no, well, I think it was Earth. I think it was Earth, Water, and Fire. Okay, or book 1 was the Book of Water, book 2 was the Book of Earth, and then book 3 was the Book of Fire. So that's how the movie should have gone. It should have been 1 was strictly about water, 2 was strictly about him learning the Earth stuff, and then 2 was about him learning Earth, and then 3 was about him learning fire. Which, by the way, don't get it.
I think.
Go ahead.
I think one of the biggest issues with it is no doubt it's the writing, because everyone and their mom knows that the last Avatar, the Last Airbender of the anime series is held to such a high regard because it is written amazingly well for what is supposed to be a child's anime show.
Yeah. Oh, amazingly
It is
well.
written. Exactly. It is remarkably put together well for it.
Yeah.
And you take that, something that is supposed to be as in-depth as the show was, and then you set it alongside the M. Night Shyamalan film with only scratching hardly even the surface of that. It is going to be noticeable, and no doubt that movie had a lot of issues. It was not just the casting, it was not just the writing, it was a hodgepodge of things, and that is no doubt one of the things that you brought up that I haven't heard before, and you're completely right. The show took its time. It went real slow, and it made you truly understand every little thing. Whereas, of course, I can't blame them because they only have, an hour and a half time bracket to fit in every little thing they could.
Yes.
So they had to throw it all together. So you're right. That should have been an episodic slow burn.
Yes.
Rather than let's throw everything together from season 1, 2, and 3 and see what the hell we get out of it.
Let's be real. There are certain things that really work better as TV shows than it does as a movie. And I'm not saying I wouldn't love to see a live action, Airbender movie, but there's just too much information to cram into an hour and a half. Unless you're willing to go the Avengers Endgame route and every movie is a 2.5 hour epic and masterpiece, then you could probably do, whatchamacallit as a live action movie. But other than that, it needs to be a live action television show.
There's a lot of boxes to tick when it comes to that.
Because there's a lot of character development that happens throughout each season. Not just with Aang, not just with Sokka, not just with Katara, but with Toph, with the people that they're meeting along the way. You know what I'm saying? With Zuko, with Grandpa. There's a lot of character development that happens throughout each season. So if you can't get that proper development in there, it's going to cause problems, and it's going to show, which is part of what happened in the M. Night Shyamalan movie. So okay, so you can kick us off with this one. How excited are you for Disney Plus? We got about 2 weeks and counting, and Disney Plus kicks off. I know I'm juiced.
Dude, I am counting down. I'm going to keep it real with you. I am staring down the Mandalorian like it is a goddamn steak dinner, and I am an African child. I am counting on that shit. The Mandalorian looks spicy. I'm ready for that shit among a list of many other things that are going to come with the Disney Plus subscription. You best believe I have my wallet checked for that shit because I'm getting it opening day.
Now, is the Mandalorian going to be available day one, or is it coming in
I
2020?
believe so. I don't know. I'm going to check the date on that, but they're marketing it as an opening title, which I hope so.
Okay, because I know like the Winter Soldier and Falcon and the Winter Soldier is coming like early 2020. Like it's not going to be on there right away. Like, but they will have every one of the Infinity Saga will be available from day one. I believe, except for I believe Endgame is the only one that won't be, but it'll be released before the end of the year.
Okay.
So.
Again, like, well, what would you say is your most anticipated thing out of that? What are you counting on most?
Out of Disney Plus?
Yeah, Disney Plus.
That's a hard one. That's truly a hard one because there's so much that I'm looking forward to. Like it's really the Marvel collection. It's being able to access and have the Marvel movies on demand, be able to watch Iron Man 1, 2, 3, whatever I feel like watching that week or that day at my fingertips. Like that's just so appealing to me.
Got that library, that cache of content right there for you.
Yep. What about yourself?
Me, hands down, it's The Mandalorian. I've waited years and years for a Boba Fett, Jango Fett, Bounty Hunter, Star Wars set form of media all in its own. The most I got was the Jango Fett video game on the PS2. So now I'm getting the Mandalorian show, and goddamn it, I will take this shit as the goddamn movie.
Hell yeah. Alright, hold on. I just finished watching Crown Jewel. So, let me close that out. Yes, Mandalorian is definitely something to look forward to. You know, I'm actually kind of juiced about the new Star Wars movie as well. So, alright, so
I'm interested.
we're going to kind of have two subjects here that are both video game related that are going to kind of lead us into the wrestling segment. But we're going to open it up with, I'm going to give you a small review of WWE 2K20 because, you know, there's a lot of things floating around, information about WWE 2K20. PlayStation is offering refunds to people who purchased it because the game is super glitchy, or for them it's been super glitchy. I can't say that I've seen a lot of massive glitches. Like, I can say this, as far as gameplay and like response time, where like from when you hit a button to when things happen, it's not that bad. It's not that bad at all. It's I haven't found many glitches, and some of the video glitches I've seen I have not seen happen on my particular copy of the game. So I would have to say it's a pretty damn good game. The only flaws that I've seen in it so far were they advertise it as you can play as a male, you can create a male or a female character for your My Player. But what they don't tell you is that you have to create a male and a female character. So when you go in to create your My Player, you'll be prompted immediately as soon as you get done to create a female character. And the reason for this is because the male and female character are interconnected in the My Player storyline. Because they don't tell the story. It's not like last year where you kind of work your way up from NXT to the main roster and, you know, fight for titles on the main roster. No, this one actually starts you out at your Hall of Fame induction. She's back! Renee Young is back! I didn't know they brought her back to SmackDown. Yay! I was wondering what happened to her. And
Hell
Aiden
yeah.
English, huh?
Renee's the shit.
Yeah, Renee Young and Aiden English, huh? Right on.
Hell yeah.
Anyway, sorry to get sidetracked like that, but yeah, but
It's all
overall,
good. It's all good.
but they start you out as at your Hall of Fame ceremony, and basically you play through the the game. You're my player, basically in flashbacks. You have flashbacks to matches that you've had with this person and with that person, etc. And you play the match. But you're like
Okay.
walking around. But you're like walking around the Hall of Fame place with the talking to different wrestlers, who are congratulating you on getting inducted and so on and so forth. The best part about it so far, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is the president in the WWE universe, in the My Player universe. He tweets at you.
Great.
He tweets at you for congratulating you for getting inducted into the Hall of Fame. So yeah, it's pretty funny.
That's fucking great.
But overall, like I said, game moves pretty good, plays pretty good. The only thing that you really have to get used to is, I believe, the reverse button was RB or the R trigger for reverses.
Mm-hmm.
This year for the Xbox, it's the Y button. So I don't know if for the
Oh, that's
PlayStation
weird.
it's the triangle. So it's that top button there instead of being the R button or the R trigger.
Okay.
So,
All right.
what were some of the things
me,
you were hearing about it?
Yeah, for me, no doubt, I am not happy with this game. This isn't hands down the worst game I've ever played. I'm not going to trash it and burn my copy. But I think, especially set alongside of the other wrestling games that are out right now, I think this game's flaws really start to show. A while ago, we talked about how bad it is to release an unfinished game, to release a game in a state that which it should not be put out at, and that we are beyond willing to wait for a game so that it could be a better product, rather than get it earlier and have it be not finished at all. In my opinion, this game should have been 5-6 months more down the line with how many issues I'm seeing it. I've heard people who don't even have the game outright working. I have heard people who have had corrupted games already. I'm hearing a lot of people have a lot of issues with it. This isn't just like me going online. I'm talking about people that I know who own the game are not having a functional game.
Dang.
And even in my opinion, even if you look aside from that, even if you look at it in the sense that, this game is damn near in the alpha version and it is real buggy. Aside from that, there are a lot of things missing from this game. Of course, there is the control scheme that is now all out of whack unnecessarily, in my opinion. They had a real good thing going with the control scheme they had going with these last few years. They had a real consistent set that really stuck with me. And now there's this control scheme that came out of absolutely nowhere that makes no sense to me. The character cast is what I'm completely fine with. Of course, we're missing JBL for the second or third year in a row, which I'm not goddamn happy about.
Yeah.
John o'clock motherfuckers, I'm trying to clothesline people. But the character cast is cool. We have Mark Henry back in the game. We now have Street Profits. Nikki Cross is back in the game. A whole new cast of characters to play as, which I'm more than fine with.
Yeah.
But there are little tidbits now that are missing that were in the last game. And the worst thing you want to do with these yearly games like this is take anything out that would create a lot of notice. A lot of people are noticing that a lot of things taken out of the create a wrestler section are stripped away completely. And I don't know
stripped
about
down
you,
to a bare minimum.
but exactly. I don't know about you, but I spent a lot of my time in the create a character section. And that's where my main place of play is, and there's a lot of in-depth things that are now removed. Like, for instance, you can't change the colors of face paints, real nitpicky things like that.
Well, okay, I haven't. Okay, let me describe something to you though. When you initially create your character, it is 1000% a stripped down version of the create a character thing. Like, it's the most simplified version. But if you wish to make changes, you can go into advanced edits or whatever it's called, advanced customization. and it allows you to pick like specific moves. You can choose your specific finisher. You can change things. But the thing about it is, you are correct about the outfit and like your look. They've simplified that way down, way too much. You don't have as much variety as you had before at all. But as far as like move sets and stuff like that, yeah, you still have the same variety and you still have the ability. You just have to go into advanced customization after you finish with the initial create a character part.
Oh no, yeah, I know what you mean. I know when you start your character, you have your base set of moves that you're supposed to start out with because it's supposed to be like, you know, your character's fresh and all that type of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
But I know, no, I mean, like even in the advanced section, there are a lot of things that were in the last game that are now gone completely.
Yeah.
Like there is a lot less options, and that is the worst thing you want to do with a wrestling game. Is you do not want to lower the amount of options you have because that is where the replayability comes from with these games.
Yeah. No, I have yet.
Again, this is not the worst game I have ever played,
but close,
I hate to say that 2K19 was better than 2K20.
I can say that. Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. Well, what I was going to say is I have not had a chance to, and I'll probably talk about this on next week's show. I'll probably get a chance sometime this weekend to check out the friggin' the special features, like the Horsewoman storyline that you get to, you know, go through a bunch of matches. Like I believe you do Sasha and Bayley's Iron Woman match in NXT. Like you go through a lot of the matches of the growth of the Horsewomen, of the 4 Horsewomen. So there's that.
Actually, that is interesting. That is one of the few things that I really do like.
And there's another one that involves Roman Reigns as well. So like I said, we'll check it out. Or I'll check it out sometime this week and tell people about it next week. And then also check out my YouTube page, eventually Double KK Double, to see my video review of 2K20. So
on a little bit of a brighter note, just to squeeze this in, if you're looking for a better wrestling game, in my honest opinion, anybody listening should check out Fire Pro Wrestling World. If you haven't heard of it or checked it out, it's a smaller title. It actually just got put on PS4 a little bit ago. One of my favorite video game producers ever, Suda51, put it out. He's put out some of my favorite video games of all time. He's a massive wrestling fan. He put this out. It follows the New Japan crowd, of course. But you'll see people make basically any wrestler from anything in that game because it has a lot of options and variety within it. You'll see people make picture-perfect Stone Cold Steve Austins all the way down to current versions of Cody Rhodes.
Nice.
There's a lot of replayability. It takes a little bit of time to get used to. The control scheme's a little weird, and the play style's a bit weird, and it's 8-bit, so it doesn't look amazing. It's not going to be 4K HD like you're seeing the 2K games at.
Yeah.
But it's a damn good game if you're a hardcore wrestling fan.
All right, fair enough. All right, so that leads us into the next thing, because I was actually going to ask you. So your friends who have the game, did they go out and buy it, or did they digitally download it?
I have one of my friends who actually bought it digitally. He buys games almost purely digitally, so he has it digitally. And I have another friend who doesn't live in town, so I don't see him in person, but I do talk to him, and he has a copy of it physically, and both I have heard are massive, massive issues.
Okay. Which systems, by the way?
Both on Xbox, actually.
All right, fair enough. Okay, so I asked you that question to kind of segue into our next segment, which is Alpha's Editions, and normally Alpha has his segment, but this week he kind of lent it to me for a second. I'm gonna give you guys a little small story about how we came up with this conversation that ended up with a Twitter poll. It's a conversation I was having with Mr. Suave from West Coast Bias the other day about video games and where video games are headed as far as like digital content versus disc. Versus buying a disc. And his statement to me that spawned this debate and this hypothesis that was tested was that within the next generation, basically, so by the time the next Xbox and PS5 come out, we're going to see a move to where no system is going to have an optical drive and everything is going to be download only, digital download only. And I told him I don't believe so because of the fact that there's multiple reasons that I gave, that I discussed with Alpha earlier as well, as to why I don't believe that we will see that anytime. Like, I think we're about at least a generation or two away from seeing that, because I think there needs to be a shift in the market of how people are buying games that's going to equal to at least 2/3 of people buying digital content directly before we're going to see the video game consoles strictly go to digital download content. But it did inspire a Twitter poll that I put up on my Twitter account, Double K, at Double KK Double, where I asked, I have a lot of gamers, I have about 2,500 Twitter followers. And so I put out and asked them and got about 50 votes on my Twitter poll. What would they prefer? How do they prefer to buy their games? Digital or disc? I'll hit you with the results of that Twitter poll after we get done discussing it. Alpha, why don't you give the people some of your thoughts on digital versus disc as far as purchasing video games?
If we're talking my opinion, for me as a gamer, somebody who has never missed a console, I'm talking I have had the PS3, the Xbox 360, down to the PS2, GameCube. I had PS4 on the opening week. I had an Xbox One within 2 months of it coming out. I like to think of myself as a big gamer. I follow it a lot. I have hardly missed a console. For me, I personally like having a physical collection. I like the look of having all of my games lined up. I like having a collection. It's aesthetically pleasing for me. But I can see why someone would want digital, though.
Okay.
Because whereas a physical copy can be compromised, your digital copy can't break unless you compromise your account or your memory or the passwords or anything like that, you know?
Right.
You can't break a disc if there is no disc.
Right. Nobody can sit on it or step on it. Yeah.
Exactly. You can't break a disc if there is no disc to break. But for me, I personally like having physical copies. If I can, of course, there are games nowadays that are strictly digital, games that are only sold digitally on the market.
Yep.
But personally, I like having a physical copy. It's a nice look.
I agree, 1,000%. Like, for me, my preference 100% is a disc. Like I told you, like I was talking to you about when we were offline, there's two major hurdles that they have to get over before they can even come close to getting me. First and foremost, you got to guarantee me that you will not go onto my hard drive and disable my game without my permission. That's number one. And then number two, price points. You're not having to generate cover art. You're not having to generate covers for the games. You're not having to ship the game out to people. You're not having to pay GameStop or anybody else their cut. You're uploading a game onto a server, and I'm downloading it onto my console. So I should not be paying the same price I would pay if I walked into a GameStop or a Target or a Walmart and bought the game directly and bought a disc.
Mm-hmm.
So until they get over those two, and I've told you the sticking price point for me is about $45, $35-$45. If they can bring it down to $35-$45 instead of $60-$70, I might be inclined to buy a digital copy. But I'm not going to pay $70 when I'm not getting a disc. I'm not getting an instruction booklet. I'm not getting any of that. Whether I need it or not, I'm not paying $70 when I'm not getting any of that.
That is a fair point. So there's a lot of costs now that don't need to be there at that point. Of course, they need to pay royalties to the retailer and all that type of stuff. There's a lot more complications in that. Right. But you're right. There's a lot of costs that at that point don't need to be covered if it is strictly digital.
So,
but into the idea of if we'll see it soon, no. I think we're on the road to it. with how homogenized and easy digital pay has become.
Right.
I think we're on the road to it. I think maybe within the next 10 years, maybe, but within the next 5, no, not at all.
Yep. And
I think with the next generation, with the Xbox Scarlet, no. I think we'll have an option. We'll see a console with the option to have fully digital pay.
Yep.
But I think strictly, especially in the PS4, people who are exclusive to the PS4 section, no, not at all.
Yeah.
But like you said, when revenue reaches to around 15 to 20% on discs, when it's that low, when it's a real minority, that's when I think we'll begin to see it inch closer and closer to purely digital.
Yep. And that's what it would take is a shift in the market that drastic in order to have the console makers say, you know what, we're only going to put out consoles that have digital, that do digital download, and that's it. Because here's the deal. Here's the deal. There will always be a market for consoles that have optical drives to allow people to play their disc games that they already own. So if you take that ability for them to be able to play games that they already own away from them, how many consoles do you really think you're going to sell?
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I say. In no time in the near future does it make sense to force people to go strictly to a digital download. It just doesn't.
I think there's also a lot to say about how good it can be, though. A lot of people say that they stick with an Xbox One specifically because they have the backwards compatibility section where you can play a massive amount of games from not just the generation before that in the 360, but even the generation before that. Back to the Xbox Brick, the Xbox Brick, I like to call it, the OG Xbox, the fat bastard of an Xbox. You can get playability in that. And then I remember I had to bring up to people that there is now PlayStation Live, I think it's called, where it's for $5 a month. You get 500 plus games from the previous generation and before that too, completely free for just $5 a month.
See, that's something
I'm not plugging it, but exactly, I'm not plugging it. But a lot of people like to say that they stick with Xbox purely for that, but purely for $5 in a digital setting, completely without a physical copy, you get 500 plus games completely at your disposal.
Yep, and with the invention and with the adaptation of cloud drives, etc., it's completely possible for them to set up things like that make it easier for gamers to be able to have access to those things. But like I said, I still prefer my disc over my digital. But for older games, yeah, go in and give me digital copies of those games. Sell me digital copies of those games. You know, I would love to buy a digital copy of Head Coach for my Xbox One. I'd be playing the shit out of that game.
No doubt.
For those of you
at that point, it runs better too.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, Head Coach was a game that EA came out with that had similar graphics and everything to Madden, except it was all done from you were the head coach. You hired your assistant coaches, your position coaches. You drafted players. You had no control over what the players did during the game. You just called the plays, and the players went out there and ran them. And the only thing they were missing was the head-to-head online feature where you could coach against like somebody, your friend, online. They were missing that feature, and then other than that, it was an amazing game. So I would love to download that and be able to play that again. Or for PlayStation, there's a game called Legend of Dragoon. That was one of the top 5 best RPGs like ever created. And I never got to finish it, and would still love to be able to play that and finish it.
And yeah, I was sucking into that fucking game, dude.
Oh, it was my Final Fantasy before I really played, or after I had played Final Fantasy 7, and then 8 really didn't capture me. So, but all right. So that was our discussion. Let me give you the results of the Twitter poll that ended last night. Let's see. We had officially 45 votes. Yep. Or sorry, 49 votes. Or 43 votes. Sorry. My eyes are bad. 70% to 30% disc over digital. and one Twitter user named Fuckaroo Magoo responded, "You're just renting it till something goes." And then, yeah, pretty much. And then the Scott and Paul show responded saying, "I tend to only play it once, then never play it again, which is why I just do the subscription model now. However, if you buy from Nintendo, never trust them with digital. They shut down stores. Never buy eShop for anything."
Yeah, I've heard that.
So there you go. A little bit of advice from Twitter and the results that most people want disc over digital right now.
I know people on both ends. I don't know about you, but I know personally, I know someone who buys games only digital at this point.
Yeah.
And then I know somebody who buys games digitally and then buys them physically for the sole reason of having them physically in his collection. So I know people on both sides of the most extreme ends of the spectrum, I like to think.
Well, here's the thing about it, is that I think there's going to be a lot of people who do exactly what your friend has. Remember my theory about we're going to have digital and. You're going to have people that do digital and disc, but there's going to be a small outlier portion that only does digital, and there's going to be a small outlier portion that only does disc. And the same thing goes for pretty much, what was it? I use the description of WWE. You have the people who will watch just WWE, the people who will watch just AEW, and then you have the people that will watch WWE and that's the majority, is the people that will watch WWE and I think that's the majority of our society, is the people who will do digital for some games, disc for others, and that's just where we're at right now. So,
Not a bad way of putting it.
All right, my voice is getting a little tired, and we still got a lot of content to cover, so let's go ahead and take that first commercial, or only commercial break. Listen to some podcast promos, and then we'll come back and get to talking some wrestling.
Yeah, bud.
Right here on the Cheap Pop Podcast, Voices Presents Radio Network, Spreaker.com, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and wherever you find your podcast.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig, now simulating the amazing nerd show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, "You're safe here and everything," but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, "Holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?"
Horror.
It starts off like any other home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
Game ticket, $50. Hot dog, $8. Team store item, $25.
I told him I can beat him with one hand tied behind my back, with some glasses on, with one eye lens out, with some flip-flops on in the ring.
Haven't you listened to someone's dumb sports opinions? Worthless. Some people shouldn't talk sports. For everyone else, there's the Unspoken Podcast, available on most podcasting platforms, and on the web at theunsporkensportspodcast.weebly.com.
All right. And we are back. That nice little block there was brought to you by Dub Podcast, Amazing Nerd Show, Goes to the Stratosphere, and the Unspoken Podcast. So check them out wherever you find your local podcast or your favorite podcast, as well as us here at the Cheap Pop Podcast. What's up, Alpha?
Hell yeah.
You ready to talk some wrestling?
Man, as per always, wrestling world is never boring, never slow. Always got something going on, especially now with the Wednesday Night Wars.
Oh, yeah. All right.
We're going first.
We're going to Saudi Arabia.
Oh, boy.
We're going to Crown Jewel, which was actually a pretty decent show overall.
Actually, I agree. I think I walked in. I was thinking like after the show, I was like, I don't know if I walked in with my expectations too low, but that wasn't too bad.
Wasn't bad at all. There were a couple of surprises. We got the Hogan over Flair, right? You know, of course we know what the situation is, what it is. The good guys are going to get the win in that match. Overall, it was a decent match. You have flurries of spots where everybody was pretty much in the ring at the same time. It wasn't like, you know, there was always just one-on-one. You know, definitely a couple of different flurries where all 10 men were in the ring and kind of doing their thing, hitting spots left and right, all over the place. At the end, Roman Reigns, of course, hits his signature move and pins Randy Orton for the 1-2-3 and the victory.
Of course, it was a well put together match. All the little spots that you would expect going in. You know, of course, Gable had his little skerfuffle with Corbin. You know, of course, Rusev had his little heat up moment with Bobby Lashley. It wasn't horrible, but it was predictable. But it was still good nonetheless, though. I'll give it that. It was still entertaining above all else.
Above all else. Definitely. And you got to see Hulk Hogan pose. There's nothing better than that. When it comes crashing down and it hurts inside.
Gotta take a chance every time.
Whoa!
I'm gonna get tired of that shit.
Wait a minute. Shayna Baszler makes her main roster debut? Wow.
Oh, you didn't know?
No, I didn't know.
You didn't know what's going on with Survivor Series? Oh,
well, I know that it's... Oh, so this is an invasion angle. This is an invasion angle more so than anything else. Awesome.
Do you know what it is now, right?
It's what? It's going to be Bayley versus Becky Lynch versus Shayna Baszler?
My boy. It is the day after Halloween. You know what it is now. It is Survivor Series season.
Yes, it is. And
to push this in real quick, we're not going to see SmackDown versus Raw this year. No. We're going to see SmackDown versus Raw versus NXT this year.
So Shayna Baszler shows up and lays out the SmackDown Women's Champ, huh? No offense to Shayna. Right. I would have rather have seen that be Rhea Ripley. No offense to Shayna. But anyway, getting back to got sidetracked there. Getting back to Crown Jewel. Now, once again, surprised at who won this match, not surprised at how they won this match. Braun Strowman. Oh, sorry. I just had a mind fuck. Ronda Rousey is Steve Austin.
Excuse me?
Think WWE. Think SmackDown versus Raw versus ECW. Okay. Ronda Rousey is going to end up being Steve Austin.
Okay, why do you say that? I'm interested.
Remember how Steve Austin turned on the WWE
Yeah.
to go with ECW? I think because of Shayna Baszler and the other two horsewomen, Ronda Rousey turns on the WWE women's locker room to join NXT. And then that's how we get Ronda Rousey in NXT, where she gets to grow and develop.
All right, now that's best case scenario. That's what we call that. That's the good ending.
Yes. So I just had that brain move. But sorry, this match, I was setting up a match. All right, so this match kind of surprised me with who won, but not how they won. And that was the Braun Strowman Tyson Fury match. Does not surprise me that Fury won, even though I predicted Strowman was going to win. It doesn't surprise me that Fury won because of how he won. It made sense to put him over by having Braun get counted out. Now, I didn't really buy the knockout punch and Braun's fatal attempt to try to get back in the ring, but it worked well enough for me to say, okay, it was still a decent match.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Tyson Fury surprised me. Like he isn't the best worker, but as a wrestling fan, I'm used to seeing a lot of people come into wrestling and do utterly horrible.
Yeah.
When it comes to guest celebrity appearances and such. So he did better than I expected him to do. And as a whole, it was better, but still lackluster as it was.
Yeah. They traded some blows and
of
some
course,
kicks.
But of course, the ending was, it's a count-out ending, and that is never what you want.
Yeah.
I've never seen anybody watch a count-out ending and do anything more than groan at it.
Yeah. Well, this one was okay with me because there's no way that you give Fury the win in any type of a clean manner. There's no way that you give him the clean pin, or he knocks Braun out in the center of the ring. There's no way you give him that. So the only way it makes sense is if Braun gets counted out. That's the only way Braun still looks strong and Fury gets over. Other than that, there's no other way. Other than have Fury pull a heel turn and all of a sudden like go in the ring and grab like a sledgehammer or something and hit Braun with it and get disqualified, like that would have been the only other thing. Like, because it wouldn't have made any sense for Braun to snap and grab a weapon. You know what I'm saying? And it wouldn't have made sense for Fury to go over him clean.
Yeah, they wrote themselves into a corner again, no doubt.
Yeah.
It was definitely this or even worse. So this was as good as it was going to get. Otherwise, it would have been something much worse. You do have a point with that.
Exactly. So the Lesnar-Vasquez match, we were right. Lesnar retained. That I wasn't surprised about. But the match itself, it was okay.
It wasn't any better than I thought it was going to be.
Exactly.
I didn't really we never cared about the segment to begin with, so I didn't expect much out of it going into it. It was one of those. I like to refer to it now as like a Goldberg and Brock Lesnar from Mania 32 sort of moment, sort of setup where it was just 5-10 minutes of completely explosive breakneck speed action. You're not going to see the most technical, most compelling wrestling, but you're going to get entertainment for about 5 minutes. And that was that in its purest form. They had a little slug off for a minute. Cain Velasquez got on the ground and pound, and he got caught with the Kimura. Tapped out, the end.
Pretty much. And then Lesnar, now the match did serve to further the storyline between Rey Mysterio and Brock Lesnar, in which I think we're going to see Rey get a WWE title shot at Survivor Series. Because as we'll talk about a little bit later, Brock Lesnar attacked Dominic again on last Friday night. So, okay, are they just rotating people? First it was Aiden English, now it's Pat McAfee. Anyway,
I like them both though. I'm not mad.
I do. I'm not mad at
it's
it,
funny
but
as hell.
it's just funny to me. All right,
Yeah,
so
it
Lesnar.
is fucking weird.
In what was one of the better matches of the night, though, Mansoor versus Cesaro resulted, of course, in what we always knew was going to happen, a Mansoor win. But it was still a pretty good match. That kid's a hell of a wrestler. Like I'm not understanding why he only gets shine at these Saudi Arabian events.
Yeah, I've said it before. Maybe not on the show, but he has a very interesting moveset.
Yeah.
If you've seen his matches or his singular one that was on NXT TV a while ago, he pulled out a lot of really innovative moves that I haven't seen from anyone other than Mansoor.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that he may actually have a really bright future going into this. And
Really?
he isn't just, a Saudi cashing in machine for the hometown crowd.
Yeah. I'm surprised Jinder Mahal wasn't on the roster or wasn't on the card.
Me too. But as always, it's Cesaro. Are you really going to see Cesaro work a bad match?
No. Especially not with a talented wrestler like Mansoor. They definitely brought the house down. Now,
absolutely.
What was a good match overall, or series of matches overall? Keith Lee and Matt Riddle? Yeah, buddy.
Boys.
Those are my boys. Yeah, it looks like NXT's invading SmackDown first.
Yeah, buddy. I'm with that shit.
First Shayna Baszler shows up. Now Keith Lee and the original Bro show up. Yeah, that's the road they're headed down. All right, the 9 tag team turmoil match for the best in the world was started out by Ziggler and Rude, and ended with the OC taking on the Viking Raiders, the Raw Tag Team Champion, the Vikings Raiders, and beating them to become the best tag team in the world.
I can hear that again.
Now, here's the one thing with it. I'm actually really okay with this, because it would be like if the Dudley Boys were in the tournament and the Dudley Boys won it. The Dudley Boys literally are one of the best tag teams in the world. You know what I'm saying? And so the OC have literally won championships around the world. So they deserve to be called the best tag team in the world. Period. So
100%. I am that Bullet Club mark. I buy the T-shirts, and that does mean by extension, I fucking adore the Good Brothers. So seeing them actually win something, much less something as big as this, I loved it. It came completely as a surprise for me. Like, with how they've been pushing the Viking Raiders, I saw them come out and I was like, all right, that's it. They've already won this. I can already count that down. And no, to my surprise, to my absolute happiness, the OC walked away with a nice big trophy. And I'm hoping that this can lead to a real mainline push for them, especially with AJ being the top guy that he is with the U.S. title currently.
Yep.
I'm hoping they'll cash in on that. It won't be just like when Braun won the Greatest Royal Rumble a while ago, and he just got the belt and went on to do fuck all.
Yeah.
I'm hoping they actually capitalize on this and they do something with it. That would be the best. And it's not like you can go wrong with Gallows and Anderson, because they have proven that in 9 out of 10 cases they will do it.
Nice. Oh, what is that move? That is beautiful.
Which one?
Matt Riddle. The move where he kind of picks him up. Yeah, man. They're doing all kinds of good shit right now. Anyway, it's very distracting. And in the final match of the night, what was the main event? Wait a minute. Sorry. There were 2 other matches. AJ Styles ended up defending the U.S. title against, oh my God, moonsault by Keith Lee. That is, man, him and Bronson Reed. We'll talk about it a little bit more later. Those are 2 big men that can move.
Bronson Reed's on some other shit.
Yeah, he is.
Bronson Reed is not human.
Bro, with that fucking frog splash from a 300-plus pounder, holy shit. Anyway, but AJ Styles retained his U.S. title over Humberto Carrillo, who was the winner of the 20-man battle royal to determine a number one contender for AJ's belt. So Carrillo and AJ Styles had a great match, just like they did on Monday Night Raw, but Styles ended up winning just like he did on Monday Night Raw. The most important match of the night. Go ahead.
I'm real interested in Humberto Carrillo going forward because he's really clean. I like him.
Yes,
he's
he
among
is.
that group of wrestlers who works the luchador style that I'm really interested in.
Amen to that, sir. Now, what I will call the most important match of the night took place between a match that wasn't announced until after we had recorded last week's episode. Natalya took on Lacey Evans in a women's match, which was the first time in Saudi Arabia there had ever been a women's wrestling match. And yeah, it was a beautiful thing to see. Both those girls wrestled their heart out. Now, I was left to wonder, is it really? Because I could have swore Sasha Banks and somebody else wrestled a match. But was it? Well, I don't know if it was in Saudi Arabia or not.
I believe it was, but it was a house show match.
Yeah.
And they had to wear. I've seen a picture. They had to wear full bodysuits and such.
Yeah, same as Lacey Evans and whatchamacallit. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly the same. But I believe this was the first one on a main stage on a global level.
Right. And that was a beautiful thing to see. Watching those little girls light up as these wrestlers came out was just amazing. Watching them hug and cry with the little girls and the women there was just, yeah. It was definitely worth watching. So check that match out. Even if you don't check out the rest of Crown Jewel, check that match out. It was pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And finally, the biggest surprise of the night leaves SmackDown with both major championships on the WWE main roster.
Yep. Somewhere after we had been done recording, a few days after or the next day,
yeah,
I was catching up with wrestling news and the such, and I had heard that Seth Rollins himself had said that he does not like being Universal Champion.
Really?
He had said that it's a lot of pressure. He can't handle it. It's not working out for him. And somewhere in the middle of the main event match between Seth Rollins and The Fiend, I was like, wait, no, there's a real chance that Seth's not going to take the belt home here, is there?
Yeah.
Because it reminded me a long time ago, when if you remember when Eddie Guerrero was world champion.
Mm.
And although it was, he was loved for it and everything, he had personally said that it was very daunting. There was a lot of pressure and it was really scary for him. And that was more as to why he dropped the belt to JBL.
Really?
Yeah.
Some people do not survive very well in the spotlight. They really don't. Like, there are some people that thrive in the spotlight. There are others that don't. And maybe Seth Rollins is one of those people that doesn't necessarily thrive in the spotlight. Like, he doesn't mind being on the main stage, but he doesn't want to be front and center.
I think for me, at least looking at it where it is now, it was a matter of circumstance this time.
Yeah.
Because I don't know about you, but I look back on Seth Rollins, every other time Seth Rollins was put in that spotlight and he was put straight into the main event, all focus on him. Seth Rollins has done incredible work. His 2014-2015 run with the world title following WrestleMania 32 when he cashed in full heel Seth Rollins, corporate Seth Rollins, that is one of my favorite runs of anyone ever. Yeah. I adored that run for a lot of different reasons. But I think with Seth Rollins' current position with the entirety of the wrestling community with what he's been written with just everything that's going on.
Yeah.
I think no doubt this is one of the worst times for Seth Rollins to be with the mainstay World Heavyweight Championship.
For sure. For sure. I think he could definitely be utilized in different ways than how he is now. And I think he'll benefit from dropping the title and being able to do exactly that. I think he'll be able to benefit by being somebody that can mentor other people and can work with them as opposed to being in the center of the spotlight himself. The Fiend deserves it, but it's just weird to know that both, like I said, both brands or both titles are on SmackDown.
Yeah, no, it is definitely a weird thought.
Yeah, so I could. What's funny is that it wouldn't bother me if the U.S. and the Intercontinental title were both on SmackDown or both on Raw, but I don't like both heavyweight championships. Why have two heavyweight championships? Unless there's gonna be something where the Fiend ends up wrestling Brock Lesnar and Brock unifies the belts. And they come up with the WWE Universal Heavyweight Championship or something. And then
that's an interesting thought.
Because think about it. They're already doing it with the women's tag team titles, where the champions can jump between the shows. Why not make it that... Why not consolidate the tag team titles, right? And consolidate the heavyweight titles. Leave the mid-carders and the women's titles on their own separate shows. Okay, so SmackDown still has a women's title, and it still has the U.S. or the Intercontinental title. Raw still has a women's title and the U.S. belt. But the main heavyweight champion can bounce between brands. Okay? And then the tag team champions can bounce between brands. Both male and female can bounce between brands.
I think that'd definitely be interesting, no doubt. I think especially with the direction they're going in right now, especially with Brock being the champion, yep. I can see that. So
that was just a thought I had when I was thinking about like what would be the purpose of putting both things, or like I read an article in a Bleacher Report review of Crown Jewel, or they could just be setting up for because since Survivor Series is Raw versus SmackDown, they could be setting up for Bray Wyatt to face a Raw, a Raw competitor. And that competitor, whoever it may be, wins the title back, for Raw. So
ECW style, okay.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with it. I'm definitely interested to see.
Moral of the story is, Fiend is now our current champion.
Yeah,
the unlikely scenario has happened.
Bray Wyatt has officially held the WWE and the Universal Championship.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Puts him in a very interesting position, too.
Yeah. But we'll see, because we don't see the Fiend often. That's what's going to be interesting about it, is that we don't see the Fiend often. So it's not like the Fiend is a regular character that we see every single week. But will we start to see him every single week now that he's champ? Or will we start to see Bray every week? And then the Fiend only in matches.
Kind of like what Cody Rhodes wanted to do with Stardust, where it was going to be Cody Rhodes and Stardust were two completely different entities.
Exactly. I want to say, yeah, man, I don't know if you watched that WWE Backstage after last week's Friday Night SmackDown and the interview with Finn Balor, which, by the way, let me give props to WWE for the Backstage show, because it walks the line of kayfabe and non-kayfabe very, very closely. Like the way they discuss the matches and they discuss the wrestlers, you got to watch it to see what I'm saying. I don't know if you watched last week's, but once it starts coming on, you'll see the people who are listening. You guys will see what we're talking about. But once it starts coming on, it's very interesting how they do it. I like it. it definitely adds a more sports feel to pro wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Finn
very well
Balor
done.
especially hit the mark very well there.
Yes.
As I said when we were talking about Finn Balor turning heel and all that last week,
Yeah.
I had specifically brought up, like, pre-WWE, anything before that, Prince Devitt, in my opinion, was one of the best generation-defining heels. He was a wonderful heel. And in that interview, he looks at Booker and says, like, you're familiar with my work before WWE, right? Like, you know what I did before this. Completely reference to that without name dropping.
Well, actually, no. If you listen to the rest of that segment, that was what I was going to bring up. He actually says that's a little bit of Prince in me. Like,
yeah,
it's
exactly.
just an offhand comment. It's not something that he says, like, specifically, like he stands up and looks in the camera. No, he just kind of mentions, like, leans back. That's that Prince in me. And I was just like, we may have seen him go back to NXT because we may be seeing a shift from the Finn Balor character to the Prince Devitt character.
Now that would be money.
That would definitely
That's
be
where
money.
the money's at.
Tommaso Ciampa standing in the middle of the ring with The Miz. They're going full-scale invasion.
They're my favorite people.
Full-scale invasion.
Take my goddamn money.
I'm going to have to completely rewatch this entire episode of SmackDown after we get done recording and I get done airing Double K's Classroom for this week. Because, wow, like, I want to hear what all these promos are saying. Like, please tell me that the Velveteen Dream shows up at some point tonight. Or maybe they're saving him for Monday Night Raw.
We'll take this and we'll run with it next week. We'll review the fuck out of that.
Hell yeah.
I got you.
All right. So, wasn't a lot of highlights for last week's SmackDown. Miz TV with Hogan and Flair repping up Crown Jewel. They had a Lacey Evans like jobber match that really was just kind of stupid. Like, first she acts like she doesn't want to wrestle the girl and she's going to walk away. And then right as the referee gets to 8, 9, she runs, jumps in the ring, hits the girl with the woman's right, drops her, pins her, and walks out the ring prancing. And I'm like, I could have done without that entire segment. Nakamura, the most interesting segment, and this is the one I will discuss with you that came out of last week's SmackDown, was Nakamura and Zayn offering to team up with Daniel Bryan, trying to convince Daniel Bryan to join them.
Definitely an interesting spot.
Yeah, so I can't wait to see where they kind of go with that, moving forward. So, what will I say?
I'm interested. The whole Nakamura and Zayn thing came completely out of left field already.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see where they go because I know everybody knows they're both good workers, but it's the writing. It's all in the writing, so I'm interested.
Amen to that. And then what was one of the worst segments of SmackDown? Lesnar doesn't come out and face Cain Velasquez. He beats down Dominic in the back again, and then as Dominic's being tended to, Brock jumps Ray and Cain Velasquez from behind. It was just stupid. It really didn't further anything. It really didn't even make sense in regards to what was going to be going on in their match. So that was it. And in the main event, Reigns, Ali, and Shorty G went over Corbin, Nakamura, and Cesaro. So Raw was interesting because it saw the Kabuki Warriors turn on Paige, which was quite interesting.
Mm-hmm.
With Asuka spitting the green mist into Paige's eye, even though I think that segment got a little too real. If you listen to Paige after she sprays, she's like, "I can't fucking see." Like, she gets real. Like, it's not like she's like faking it. Like, "Oh my God, I can't see. Like, help. No, like, she's like, get me water now. It's in my eyes." And she's like screaming. I'm like, oh snap.
That's kind of uncomfortable. Fuck.
You know. But the save was made by Becky Lynch, who eventually went on to beat Kairi Sane in a one-on-one match right after the whole Kabuki Warriors segment. Let's see. And in a segment that I agree with Bleacher Report was kind of anticlimactic, the Street Profits came out and basically told the entire tag team division that they want the smoke, but that was all they did, and then they went and left. I'm like, I agree with Bleacher Report when they say this would have been much better served had they put them in a match after the promo, or just had the promo be a backstage promo.
They just sort of asked for a fight and then did.
Yeah. So that was another highlight. Randy Orton did what he does best in interfering in the McIntyre Ricochet rematch and hit Ricochet with one of the most beautiful RKOs out of nowhere I've ever seen. By the time I noticed Randy was in the ring, he was already mid RKO. I thought Drew McIntyre was doing some new move, and I was like, wait a minute, that's Randy. Oh shit, RKO. That really came out of nowhere, no pun intended, out of nowhere. What the fuck did Randy come from?
Actually, out of nowhere this time. Shit, I couldn't telegraph it.
There was no setup. He didn't pound on the mat. Nothing. No.
I've always been mad about that. Me and my friend were talking about it. His whole thing is being a sneaky viper, and it's coming out of surprise. And it's like, all right. Let me pull this move out of surprise, but first let me pound on the ground like a fucking maniac real quick.
Let me tell you it's coming and set it all up right quick.
Yeah.
No, I feel you. Okay. But when he does hit it on the out of nowhere status, when people are like, one of my favorite RKOs is there's two of them. Both happened at WrestleMania. One was a matchup between Carlito and Randy Orton, where Carlito just does this springboard headbutt dive at Randy Orton, and Orton turns it into an RKO. And then what is my number one sickest RKO of all time is WrestleMania, I want to say 4 years ago when they were in Santa Clara.
Mania 31, Santa Clara, Randy Orton versus Seth Rollins.
Yes, and Seth Rollins launches Orton up, Randy Orton launches Seth Rollins up when he attempts to stomp, launches his ass up in the air, and then catches him on the way down and hits him with the RKO. That is the most beautiful RKO I've ever seen live or on TV. Every time I've ever watched it, I'm like, holy shit, that was impressive.
I never, ever get tired of that single one. For me, one that stuck out with me when I was a kid was when he caught Evan Bourne with it.
Yeah.
Went for the airborne, for the shooting star press, caught him on the way down, and just fucking spiked him.
Dropped him.
I remember exactly, I was 11 years old at the time I saw that, and I fucking lost it. But no doubt, the one that hands down looks like it has the most impact, the nastiest looking one will forever be the Seth Rollins off the curb stomp.
Because he launches, it's like, okay, everybody else, it's kind of like you feel sorry for them because they kind of, you feel sorry, but only so sorry for them because they kind of launched themselves, at Randy Orton and set themselves up for that. Sorry, you kind of walked right into that. I'll say, but with this one, it's just there was just nothing Seth could do. Seth was going for his finisher for the stomp, and Randy, instead of going down, just lifted up and launched Seth into the air. It was just holy shit.
It was all the fucking air he got. It was just pure air. He flew.
Oh man.
And you can almost see Seth Rollins air dance. No, this is how it ends.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
it.
You know what else I could also see is them two in the back prepping that, oh, this is going to be sick. All right, man, yeah, you're going to step on my shoulder. I'm going to lift you. I'm going to launch you. And then you flatten out. And I'm going to give you the RKO. And that's going to be our finish. And they're like, yeah, dude, this shit's about to be raw. Watch. I've always wondered that. Do wrestlers get you know what I'm saying, when they're planning, because they do plan the finish to an extent. So when they come up with these things, whether it be in the ring in the moment, do they like give each other a wink like, dude, that's a fucking sick ass finish. Hell yeah, let's rock that. I always wonder, like, do they give each other props, like either be backstage or mid match about like, dude, that was just awesome. But
I think about that. I've seen pictures of them talking about it backstage. Like I saw a picture a while ago of the Shield and the New Age Outlaws backstage planning out their match, and it's just like, do you think they mark out when they think of spots like that? Like, oh fuck, just launch my ass up 6 feet in the air and spike me.
This shit's gonna be fun. Oh man! All right, so now I'm gonna get on to what I call literally, and you can see, and I'm looking at it right now on the running sheet. Now I wrote it down. The worst segment on Raw since the "This Is Your Life" segment with Mankind and The Rock, and that was the divorce court segment.
Oh fuck me!
Just.
There have been very few times in wrestling where I'm actively like, this is some of the worst shit I have ever seen. I am not talking wrestling. I am talking like in any form of media. And this continues to be increasingly fucking worse.
I'm like, look, Lana, if you're trying to get yourself an acting career, you just did more damage to your attempt than good. Because I'm sorry, this whole it's badly written and it's made worse by bad acting.
Yeah.
And so, like, literally, like I said, y'all snap a picture and put it on Facebook for y'all so y'all can see that I literally wrote worst segment on Raw since This Is Your Life. That's what I considered that divorce court segment or the King's Court segment on Monday Night Raw this week. Just period. All right, so moving on to better stuff and stuff that matters. Both AEW and NXT both put on hell of a shows this week.
Oh shit, no doubt. There is a lot to say about both of those this week.
Yes, there is. We'll start with AEW. Like, I didn't really get a chance to watch the tag team title match. Did you?
I did not. I came in. Best friends.
No. What I'll say, SCU versus Lucha Bros.
No, I did not catch that.
Well, I did not catch it myself either. Go ahead.
I caught Sans Omega and Best Friends, and then from that point on, which okay. we'll get to that later. But I caught that.
All right, the Jericho and Cody, the contract signing and all that. See, like, I didn't even make it that far. Like, I barely watched the first hour of AEW this week.
All right, well, you missed out. That should slap it. But
and I'm sorry I did.
It was the Halloween special of AEW, and they hammered that in. In my opinion, the moment of the night was Kenny Omega walking in through that curtain to Megalovania as fucking Sans.
I saw the video on that one, yeah.
Yeah, like, okay, look, like, I love Omega. I love Omega as much as the next guy. He came out at Wrestle Kingdom earlier this year with his Undertale-themed theme song, his whole get-up. All of it was animated, and the theme was still by Toby Fox, all Undertale-oriented. And that was cool. This time he just said, fuck the subtlety. He came out full-ass, dressed out as Sans, did the shrug, full-ass Megalovania and everything. This is a whole-ass meme. I don't know what to do. Like, all of my friends know I am that wrestling mark in the group. So like, instantly everybody just starts blowing up my phone with this, and I'm like, fuck, this is real.
Oh man, hell yeah.
Fuck me. I'm not mad though, because it's Kenny Omega. If it was anybody else, I'd be a little bit ruffled up, but it's the second best wrestler in the world today, so you know what, I'll take it.
You know, I will say this: the Sammy Guevara Hangman Page match was pretty damn good. Like, I was highly impressed with that one. Those two put on a hell of a show.
I expected nothing less out of both of them. Hangman Page always proves that he is damn near the underdog of the elite.
And I will say this, man. I don't like seeing old people get beat up. I'm not about that, man. And I personally know Robert Morton. And, oh, God, fucking A, dude. I can't remember the other dude's name. It's Robert Morton and Ricky in Lamb.
Oh, fucking, yeah, Rick. Damn, no, I know what you mean. It's the Rock and Roll Express.
Right. Okay, one of my earliest memories of watching wrestling matches is a scaffold match between the Rock and Roll Express and the Legion of Doom.
Oh, really?
Oh no, was it the Midnight Express? I think it was the Midnight Express. But no, there was a scaffolding match I watched between, or a ladder match I watched between Rock and Roll Express and I believe it was Midnight Express. But I loved me some Rock and Roll Express when they came over to WWF. I loved them as well. I don't like watching old people get beat up. I spent an entire evening with Robert Gibson. Like an entire evening hanging out with him and several other wrestlers at WrestleFest 2014. Know the only negative thing I have to say? I was the biggest guy in the room. So whenever Robert was talking wrestling with the other wrestlers and wanted to show somebody a move, guess who he picked? Come here, big guy.
100%.
I'm like, fuck, dude, again? All right, fine. What are we doing now? Okay, I got to lock you up. All right, I'm not a wrestler. He's like, don't worry about it. I'll walk you through it.
Ricky Morton?
No, I'm not. It's Ricky Morton and Robert Gibson. That's the Rock and Roll Express. All right, but yeah, like Ricky Morton. Like I only met him for a quick minute. Like he was outside having a cigarette when we ran into Robert Gibson, and Robert Gibson came back to our room with us where we were hanging out with the other wrestlers. Ricky went back to the room that they were staying in and chilled out. So I didn't really get to know him, but Bob Gibson was with us for like most of the evening before he finally went home. And like, yeah, awesome guy. So when they started when whatchamacallit started beating down on him, it felt personal. I was like, wait a minute, man. No, don't do that. Don't do that.
Not the boy.
Not my boy. Not like this. But it's nice to see my boy can still take a bump. Still out there doing his thing.
It's always good to see. Never ever forget that time Mae Young got put through a table by the Dudley, by Bubba Ray Dudley. And after it, she was like, if you're going to slam me, you slam me like I'm one of the goddamn boys.
You damn right. Uh-oh. Adam Cole versus Daniel Bryan. I would believe that match has happened in the being that Bryan Danielson did some time in ROH.
I would think it's happened before.
Yeah.
But of course we saw later on in the show though, we saw the Best Friends and Orange Cassidy show up as fucking Rick and Morty.
Nice.
that was cool. There's a lot of partnerships going on with them. You've seen the ads and all that, I'm sure. So it was no surprise that happened.
I love it. Let's see.
Now John Moxley did what John Moxley does and pulled out promo of the motherfucking year.
Yeah, I heard good things about that. And once again, I got to go back and finish watching AEW and check that out. I've heard nothing but good things.
I love him with a passion. Seeing that promo, I was clapping the whole time like a fucking child.
Yep. And the main event saw SoCal U defeat Lucha Bros to become the inaugural AEW Tag Team Champions. Congratulations to them, man.
It is SoCal uncensored. Like, any real wrestling fan knows that. Like, can you really be mad at that? That's SCU. That is how many years of hardened wrestling experience?
Bro, I'll put it to you like this. I wanted SCU to win the minute that I found out that they were in the finals. I was like, okay, I know who I want to win. I don't care who they facing. I know who I want to win.
Mm-hmm.
Frankie Kazarian personally became one of my favorite wrestlers for two reasons. First and foremost, I loved him in ring since his days in TNA and Impact, and his early days in WWE. I actually do remember a couple of the matches that he wrestled in WWE. But he won me over the day I met him face to face. It was at that same WrestleFest event where I was telling you about. I met Robert Morgan. I was literally standing there smoking a blunt with the Godfather and Chris Masters. And fucking up walks Kazarian, and he says hi to Chris. He says hi to Godfather. He says hi to my boy Cole. He's met him before. Then he turns around and goes, "You must be Kevin." And I'm like, you know me. Like, you know who I am? He was like, yeah, man, what's up? How you doing? He's like, Cole's told me a lot about you, man. He's like, it's good to meet you. I was like, he's like, you coming in and enjoy the show? I was like, hell yeah. He's like, then we'll see you inside, man. And I was just like, he knows me. Like Frankie
Kazarian knows me.
Like, cause Kaz, like. And then he actually did an interview in one of our first interviews for the Raw Impact Unleashed. Unfortunately, the episodes are not on the Spreaker site anymore. We will have them on the website once we build the Four Aces Presents website. But one of our first Spreaker interviews was with Kaz. And what was funny was really we talked everything but wrestling. We talked politics, we talked sports, we talked like some of his favorite this or that or this. We talked everything but but wrestling. And then we talked a little bit of wrestling. And so, like, he will forever be almost top of my list. I'm pretty much top of my list. One of the most awesome wrestlers ever. So seeing him and Christopher Daniels get any success, love it. They also are two of the realest guys I've ever seen. Almost got into a fight with one of the fans at whatchamacallit, and when we asked them about it, they were raw and real with us. They were like, look, dude, there are some people out there who get to running their mouth and they forget that we, for a living, run around beating up people and getting beat up 200 plus days a year. He goes, so sometimes you just have to remind people that it ain't nothing to play with. I guess the dude that said something about his son or something like that, like, was talking a little too real, about shit he don't know nothing about. And like we had it on, you can see it on the Raw Impact Unleashed YouTube page, which is still up. We had it, we have video of him, like you see him, he's walking towards the camera because we were taping the whole event, the actual in-ring event, and you see him walking towards the camera, and then all of a sudden he just turns around and goes, what motherfucker, meet me outside, and like literally you catch all the audio on it, meet me fucking outside. Right out there, motherfucker. Right after the show. Motherfucker. And turns around and walks back, and I was like, holy shit. Like, he's pissed.
One of the most consistent things I have heard, like, as a wrestling fan, that Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian, Scorpio Sky, SoCal Uncensored as a whole is just a very respectable group of people.
Yep. Very
real people. And that is something that has never been tarnished at all in all these years that I've been a wrestling fan.
Okay, bro. Yep, it's full-scale invasion. Bianca Belair just showed up and demolished Carmella and fucking Dana Brooke.
You know what? Like, I am not a fan of Bianca Belair, but you know what? If she's dogging on Carmella, I'm okay with it. I'll take it.
You want to know what, dude? You want to know when I decided to start liking Bianca Belair? When I found out that she's either married to or with
Montez Ford.
Yeah.
They got married a little bit ago, yeah.
Oh, Rhea Ripley's about to show up and oh yeah, there's my girl. Give it to him, Rhea. Give it to him. Oh, I love me some Rhea Ripley, dog. Like, I didn't fall in love with her. That's my girl right there.
I told you, man. Rhea Ripley's a fucking machine. That is a That is a bull wearing a woman's costume.
Shit. Oh man. But anyway, so okay. So yeah, that I was happy to see. But okay. So NXT was up next. All I can really say out of
NXT.
Go ahead.
What's up? You broke out. What would you say?
Well, I just wanted to say, Bronson Reed, Keith Lee, two of the best big men I've ever seen in ring.
Mm-hmm.
Agile, can move. Like we just talked about Keith.
Bronson Reed especially. Fucking if you haven't seen Bronson Reed's work in Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, PWG, back in the Jonah Rock, you're going to want to look there because you will see some of that man's finest work, and holy shit, can that dude go.
A 300-pounder who can hit a second rope moonsault. And I mean hit it beautifully, too.
Full arc and everything, dude.
You know?
And then Keith Lee is a beast in and of itself.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but if you don't like Keith Lee, there's something wrong with you because there is no one. Okay, there are very few people who are as unbelievably just instant charisma like Keith Lee is.
%. And I like the tag team of him and Matt Riddle. I think the big guy, small guy thing plays very well. Ooh, that was a botch and a fucking half.
Oh boy.
Sorry, Tegan Knox went to go try to throw Sonya Deville, and Sonya Deville jumped a little too early.
Ooh, that's never good.
Oh, here comes that Rhea Ripley move I was talking about a couple of weeks ago. Oh, Mandy Rose? Really? Mandy Rose ain't got the core strength to hold that up?
Horrible. What else happened in NXT?
Sorry.
We saw Cameron Grimes in action against Matt Riddle.
Yeah.
Which is always good shit. Everyone in the mom knows I'm a massive Cameron Grimes, Trevor Lee fan. I will give them one thing though. We talk a lot of shit about WWE. We dog their writing a lot, but if it's one thing that they can do, and it's bring the character out of someone.
Yeah.
And it's definitely interesting for me now, especially having been a Trevor Lee fan for so long, seeing the character of Cameron Grimes really come out. I'm not saying he had no character in this or in the Indies, but his character in the Indies was more of I'm Trevor Lee.
Right.
And now there's a real character behind it that I'm real interested in.
And I can't wait to see it develop. Like I said, I'm loving what I'm seeing right now. Just so everybody knows that what I'm talking about full-scale invasion right now is that I'm watching tonight's episode of Friday Night SmackDown, and it looks like we're seeing a full-scale NXT invasion of SmackDown. So, and I'm loving it. I hope they do the same thing on Raw next week. That would be amazing.
Fantasy matches.
Yep.
I'm feeling it. The triple threat match, though, between Roddy Strong, Dijakovic, and Keith Lee was as good as it fucking sounds.
Nice.
Roddy Strong is as good as a worker as they come, and Dijakovic and Keith Lee have been feuding and tag teaming for a real long fucking time, if I remember correctly. They've always had little bouts here and there along with tag teaming together, and they know each other real well, so of course there's real good chemistry, so it's rare that you're going to see a bad match or a bad spot between those two.
Nice. That is just, yeah. Well, didn't he face Cameron Braid as well? Like, there was a match between Tyler Brait and Cameron Grimes.
Oh, Tyler Brait.
Yeah, Tyler Brait. Yeah.
Yeah, because he fucking hit him. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't get the chance to say it a lot, so I'll say it now. Tyler Bate is a main event level athlete, and that dude should have been some form of world champion by now.
Yep.
Like, I shit you not, some of the best matches that have happened in the last 5 years were from Tyler Bate. His matches with Walter, his matches with Pete Dunne, in my opinion, those are five-star matches, hands down. No hesitation.
His only issue in Vince's eyes is he's a little small. Like that's the whole
You know,
thing
you know
about
what it is actually.
What?
I had heard actually. You know why they took the? If you remember correctly, he was the first UK champion, man.
Right.
You know why they took the belt off him?
Why?
Because he wanted to stay in NXT.
He didn't want to move up, huh?
He didn't want to. He didn't want to touch the main roster. I had heard that they had asked him to go to the main roster to do some sort of work in the main roster, and he was like, "No, I want to stay in NXT. I want to stay down here. I don't want to stay working down here." So like, all right, cool. They took the fucking belt off and put him on P-Dubs.
Dang. Well, you don't do what they want you to do. So he's the reason he's not a main event star, or at least a mid-card star on the main roster by now.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so just so we're at the 2-hour mark, so just so we can kind of wrap this up, we'll move this forward on to our final subject of the night, which will be Jordan Miles and his issues with WWE, ROH, etc. We had a pretty thorough discussion about this pre-show. I'm gonna get to my points quick. First,
hold up. You want to cover like what's going on with him first?
Yeah, go for it.
Like what's happening? Okay. So if you don't know Jordan Miles, previously known as ACH, he wasn't massive on the indies, but he definitely made his rounds. He was around.
Right.
His name is Jordan Miles. That is important because his current character within the confines of NXT is that he is a happy-go-lucky young man. Jordan Miles. They use the slogan "Smiles for Miles" because he smiles a lot, nice big toothy grin, right?
Right.
And they recently released his new T-shirt. They just started giving a lot of NXT guys merchandise T-shirts, and they recently gave him his. Following the motif of he's a happy-go-lucky dude, smiles for miles, they gave him a T-shirt that he depicts a mouth. And it is a big mouth that is smiling, and within the teeth spell Jordan Miles.
Right.
The mouth, the lips are like over accentuatedly pink, and the teeth are bright white, much like Jordan Miles' teeth. And of course, the bright pink lips on the bright white teeth, Jordan Miles took that as racial discrimination, took that as, I believe, some form of blackface, as they were caricatured back in cartoons and any form of media discriminating against African Americans. Jordan Miles went fucking berserk. Went to Twitter, took it up with a lot of people. MVP responded to him, actually. I believe MVP specifically has taken his side on this. He started firing on all cylinders. He called Jay Lethal and Uncle Tom. He commented on Hulk Hogan still being backstage and how much of a problem that is, and has basically aired out his dirty laundry and his grievances with WWE being a racist and organization that likes to hold down African Americans. This is very fresh. This has only happened within the last 3 or 4 days, I believe. So this definitely is real fresh. So how do you feel about that? Let me get your 2 cents on it.
So, I'll give my 2 cents on it, and it's this. Look, I've said that I don't agree with Jordan Miles in particular about the particular shirt that he's talking about. I don't see the racism. Like he explained how he saw racism in it, but I would have to hear kind of a little deeper explanation from him about why the shirt offended him so much, because I really don't get what about it. It didn't seem racist to me. It fit the character, fit the character name, fit the description of the character's catchphrase. So I'm just not understanding what the issue was. Like I said, the shirt when I saw it reminded me more of Rocky Horror Picture Show than it did of anything involving blackface or anything like that. Okay. But where I say that just because I don't necessarily agree with him about the shirt does not mean that his quotes about WWE and their issues with promoting and pushing black stars exist. I would ask anybody above the age of 15 to think back as far back as they can and try to remember how many. Now, minus, like I said, the Brock in him, the Rock, Dwayne the Rock Johnson, is an anomaly all in itself. Because he was blessed athletically, he just happened to be black. But his dad was somebody that Vince McMahon respected, in Rocky Johnson. So the Rock got a lot of leeway in the fact that his grandfather was the great Chief Peter Maivia. Now you combine all of that with the fact that the Rock turned out to be an amazing performer, and it was just a perfect storm. So he is an anomaly. Remove the Rock from the situation of the past 15, 20 years of wrestling, and truly think about how many African American wrestlers you've been like, wow, that dude can really go, who never quite got a push or never quite got a push beyond the mid-card. Kofi won the belt recently, but it kind of felt like that was he was due. You know what I'm saying? Like, when somebody's talent reaches a certain level, you kind of can't hold them down anymore. You can't. It's called shattering the glass ceiling. And that's what happened with Kofi. Is that they just couldn't hold him down anymore. He was so over, they got to the point where they realized, if we don't put the strap on him now, we might never get a chance to capitalize on what's going on right now. We're completely going to miss the bus. And so they struck when iron was hot, gave Kofi his build. Because a lot of people, and I think Alpha's brought this up on the show before, remember, Kofi wasn't supposed to have that run. That was supposed to be Ali.
That was supposed to be Mustafa Ali. If he had not gotten injured, that few day gap between Elimination Chamber, we would not have seen that entire Kofi run. That was supposed to be Mustafa Ali. If you remember, in the beginning of the year, they laid out this list of priorities that they were going to use going forward this year.
Yep.
Number one on that list was, we're going to push Mustafa Ali to the fucking moon, and he's going to get a world championship shot in one way or another.
Right. And so at the end of the day, ultimately, Vince just, I don't know what it is. I don't think, is Vince racist? I think so. But I don't think Vince is racist in the I hate black people or I hate brown people type way. I think Vince's racist is in, he just doesn't see a black champion being the face of his company. He just doesn't see, you know what I'm saying? He doesn't really see his African American talent going anything beyond the mid-card level. Now, of course, with Triple H gaining more control and stuff like that, things like that are changing, because I think Triple H, you've seen more pushes for more of the black athletes and wrestlers in WWE since Triple H has started having more of a sway and say of what's going on backstage. You know, but there was rumor, understand, there's rumors in his day, in his heyday, of Triple H purposely doing things to hold back certain African American wrestlers that he didn't particularly care for.
Everyone likes to bring up the Booker T happening.
Exactly. So does Jordan Miles have a point when he says that WWE has a history, and statistically you can look back a long history of prejudices against promoting and pushing their black, and also you also got to look at some of the characters that some of these black wrestlers have been forced to step into. It's like you got to ask yourself.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you look around and you see, much like in movies in the early times when there was still a lot of institutionalized racism around, black people were forced to play comedic roles and nothing more. They were not taken in a serious light, and you look back and you see a lot of that in Vince's company.
Well, you look at recent history. A group like Crime Time. Like,
no, I'm not saying it has not stopped. No doubt.
Oh yeah, yeah. But I'm saying, I'm just using a more recent example. A group like Crime Time. Although I love them, they were asked to play a stereotype. They did it well, and I loved the gimmick, but they were asked to play a stereotype, and you can't tell me that them being asked that had nothing to do with the fact that it was two black dudes.
No doubt.
Black
Everybody
dudes.
loved those two characters. They loved those two characters. Even when they left WWE, they are still Crime Time. They're still that. That's how much they loved that role. But at the end of the day, you can't take away from the fact that was two African-American dudes playing gangsters, robbing people, wearing tins.
Exactly. And so at the end of the day, does Jordan Miles have a point? Yes. Is he correct in where he's spinning that point? That's where me and him have got to disagree. I don't see this shirt as that hill to die on.
I think so too. I think Jordan Miles has a very good point. I think you look back and WWE has a lot of things racially biased that are not okay. I personally, I like to point out Michael Hayes.
Yeah.
Because there is a lot of evidence that shows that Michael Hayes is kind of a racist fucking bigot. A lot of things that show that Michael Hayes is not a good human being that deserves to be celebrated like that.
Yeah.
You bring up anything that he did to Bobby Lashley and you will see that instantaneously.
Yep.
But who is still on WWE payroll? Michael Hayes.
Hayes, yep.
Who still gets the job when he needs it? Michael Hayes.
Well, I use the prime example.
I think you're right in the idea that Jordan Miles, he has a good point, but I think he's hitting the wrong bullets. I think he crossed a line that did not need to be crossed when he took it up with Jay Lethal. I would think a very respected member of the wrestling community, someone who's been around for a very long time. I think when you look at Hogan, yes, Hogan did something very wrong that was not okay, that put a lot of people in a very precarious position. Mm-hmm. But Hogan has apologized publicly and personally to the locker room.
Yeah.
What more do you want from him? What more can he do to fix that?
Yep.
Of course, only time can fix that, but he has done everything he can right now.
Yep.
I think he has the right idea, but he's hitting the wrong bullet points.
And so, and at the end of the day, ultimately, yeah, we both agree on that and come to that same point that it's just not the hill to die on. Like, you could have made this point many other ways, but that shirt is not the hill to die on. All right, man.
And
so
two final things about it, though. Two final things. One last tidbit. I brought this up, but I forgot to up until this point. Wrestlers have to sign off their merch before it is publicized.
Right.
They have to look at that merch and sign that contract that says that is okay to send out because that is their namesake, that is their icon on that merchandise.
Yep.
So I'm confused. I'm a little bit confused as to why Jordan Miles is acting as if this was completely blindsided. This came out of complete buttfuck nowhere.
Yeah.
Because I believe he has to sign off saying that this is okay first. And not only that, but Jordan Miles has actually been on medical leave since September. And it is not for an injury.
Really?
And it is strictly confidential, actually.
So that must mean, I'm not going to lie, that must most likely means it's a mental illness issue. Like, I hate to say it, but when it's a confidentiality thing like that, it's most likely a mental illness issue. Like, health issues.
So I'm thinking that this is all about mental health for him, I think.
I could see it. Like, he could be overreacting to a situation because of what's ever going on with him outside of, and WWE just happens to be the target that he chose. WWE, ROH, etc., because he's called them all out at this point.
Yeah, I think that's what I'm thinking. But we will, we'll talk about it as it goes on, if it goes any further from this point, if it evolves in.
For sure. All right, man. So give us your wrestler of the week, and we'll wrap this really long episode that's sitting at almost 2 hours and 20 minutes up.
All right. I like to bring in maybe not the most well-known people. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I don't want to come up here and bring up guys that everybody knows, but I couldn't help myself this time. There is a certain indie darling. There is, in my opinion, a handful of wrestlers in the current state of the wrestling world that just bleed character and charisma. Mm. And for me, someone that has always been was Joey Janela.
Nice.
If you're unfamiliar with Joey Janela, do yourself a goddamn favor and check him out. Joey Janela is definitely something I would consider to be an indie darling. He has made his rounds all over, from the current state of AEW to PWG to CZW to MLW. He's definitely done a lot of hardcore wrestling, especially because he was in CZW. What would you expect from Combat Zone Wrestling?
Yeah, that's it.
He has a lot of character. The bad boy, the 80s, 90s sort of bully character isn't something that I thought would stick with me, but it absolutely has. Joey Janela has ran with that shit. You might have heard that he has the yearly Joey Janela Spring Break, which is usually pretty damn big.
Nice.
So he's definitely made his rounds. He hasn't been around for too long of a time. Dude only made his debut in 2006.
That's called instant impact, man. When you got all the five tools, when you got the charisma, when you got the ability, when you got, you know what I'm saying, when you got it all, it happens. It can happen that fast.
Call that the full package.
So.
He's an all-around badass, in my opinion, and his hardcore matches actually make me kind of cringe. I'm talking as somebody who watches CZW and ECW religiously. The man can work, though. Do yourself a favor and check out Joey Janela. If you're looking for notable matches, he had a wonderful string of matches in CZW against one of my favorites, Leo Rush.
A
wonderful set of matches. Exactly. A wonderful set of matches there. He had a wonderful match at, oh my God, I'm blanking. The first AEW show.
Not Dynamite.
All In.
All In, yes.
I'm blanking, sorry. All In. He had a match at All In against Hangman Page, which utterly snacked. He took he took an inverted pile driver off a ladder into a goddamn table. Dude is a fucking maniac. Do yourself a favor and check out Joey Janela.
There you go.
Thank you.
Alpha
Bad boy gets my alpha seal of approval this week.
We're gonna have to do you up a little do you up a little sound bite. This is Alpha seal of approval. A little stamp sound. Yeah, I'll try to put that together.
Well, audio clip. I'm with it.
All right. Well, that's it for us for this week. If you're stuck around with us 2.5 hours, thank you very much. I know there was a lot to say this week and a lot to talk about. If y'all got any comments, go ahead and put them in the comment section, or you can find me on Twitter at @KK or you can check us out on the fan page at the KK fan page on Facebook. Alpha, do you have a Twitter you want to let the people know about or anything like that?
Nope, but you know what? I'll make one and I'll hook it up next week. I got you.
All right, there you go. So you'll be able to find him starting later this week on Twitter. So that's it. Y'all have a great one. Any last words?
My people, another week of some wrestling, some comic book content. You know how it is. We'll catch you again next week.